What's up, everyone? I'm back at y'all with another video. Now, this is a video of me talking about my favorite movies in the last decade. Now, these are my opinions. I enjoy all these movies quite a bit. These are my favorite movies from the last decade. I enjoy all these movies. Some of these could be controversial, but it's my opinion. You know, everybody has theirs. So, yeah, now let's begin. First up, it's a movie I do not have called Undisputed 4. Now, this is one of my favorite martial arts movies, and I love Scott Adkins movies. I'm a huge fan of Scott Adkins. He's one of my favorites, and his movies never get old. I enjoy 95% of his movies. He's an incredible martial artist. Now, next up is a movie that I saw in theaters like a month or two ago called Spiral from the Book of Saw. Now, I have the review up on YouTube, so if you haven't checked that out, please check that out. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of the Saw franchise. The first two were pretty good. The rest kept getting worse and worse and worse. And Jigsaw was okay. And then they brought it back with Spiral from the Book of Saw. And I enjoyed that movie because the first few minutes of the movie was freaking spot on goodness. Like that first act was freaking crazy. And then it started slowing down. Then it picks back up in the last 40 minutes of the movie. I'm like, holy shit, this is great. Like, some of the best stuff in the Saw franchise. So, yeah, that one had to be on the list. Now, next up, we have the Child's Play remake. I know a lot of people hate this movie. I'm a huge Chucky fan. You know, I enjoy all the Chucky movies except for Seed of Chucky. But the Child's Play remake, in my opinion, it worked well. Like, it's modernized, you know. This is what Chucky would have been like if it got made today. Like, the original Child's Play, if it got made today, this is what it would probably be like. And I enjoyed this movie. I love how you feel for Chucky at times in this movie, and I love the story. I love the soundtrack and everything. The only one negative is the way the doll looked. Next up, we have Aquaman. What more can I say? Great action from start to finish. Great visuals. James Wan is a master at what he does. This movie is great. Next up is another great James Wan movie, The Conjuring. Now, The Conjuring, it's great. Like, it's a great movie. Like, what more can I say about this movie? It's great. It ain't even just a great horror movie. It's a great movie in general. So, yeah, great jump scares, great mood and atmosphere. Love this movie. And to me, that movie's a classic. Next up is The Conjuring 2. Love this movie. In my opinion, they even topped the first one, which is this movie is great. The Nun, they introduced you to The Nun, and I love this movie from start to finish. This movie never lets down. Next up is Avengers Infinity War. Now, Avengers Infinity War, what more can I say? It's one of the greatest action movies that ever came out in the last decade. Like, the action from start to finish was top-notch greatness. Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War is great. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion, at least. Next up, we have Avengers Endgame. What a great masterpiece of a sequel. This movie, I could put it in anytime and rewatch it, just like Avengers Infinity War. All the movies on this list, I could rewatch it over and over and over again and never ever get tired of them. So yeah, Avengers Endgame, what a great sequel, what a great follow-up to Avengers Infinity War. I love this movie quite a bit. This movie is freaking a masterpiece. Next up is Furious 7. Now, of course, I haven't watched Fast 9 yet, but I'm planning on watching that movie this month. So I don't know how good that one is, because if I watched it, it would probably be on the list too. Who knows? But Furious 7 is my favorite film in this franchise this far, and I love everything about it. The action, the emotions, the villain. Jason Statham played a badass villain throughout this movie. This movie has some of the best action scenes, some of the best emotional moments. They had two great, crazy emotional moments. One of them being where Brian O'Connor was talking to Mia on the phone, and then you don't know if he's about to die or not, and you got that sad music playing in the background at that scene, and he was talking about all, like, the past, like, from the first movie and all that stuff, and you got that really good emotion, and you got the ending where the tribute to Paul Walker, which is freaking beautiful. So there's a lot of emotional scenes and a lot of epic action scenes. Some of the best in the franchise, or it is the best in the franchise in my opinion. The action is top notch. So yeah, of course Furious 7 had to be on the list. Next up is, I know some people ain't religious, but it is a good movie. In my opinion, that is God's Not Dead. I remember seeing this in the theater. I freaking love this movie. This movie is a great movie. Even if you're not that religious, you would probably enjoy this movie. I enjoy all three of them. There's a fourth one coming out sometime this year, which is I'm looking forward to. I am looking forward to. So yeah, I enjoy the first God's Not Dead. It's probably the best one in the franchise in my opinion. Because I love, like, it had an original story that's never been told before in this way. Like in the God's Not Dead, they told a story that's never been told before in a Christian movie. So of course, God's Not Dead had to be on the list. Next up is Beckman, which is a gospel action movie. As crazy as that sounds. This movie, if you're fans of John Wick, you would enjoy this movie. So yeah, the action's there, everything is there. If you enjoy John Wick, you enjoy that movie. Next up is another Scott Adkins movie called Accident Man. Now this movie, I highly recommend y'all checking this movie out. If y'all love martial arts, if y'all love superhero movies too, and if you also love John Wick, it's like a mixture of all those put together in this movie. And the soundtrack is great, and the final fight's great. All the fight scenes in this movie kept getting more and more and more intense. So yeah, this movie had to be on the list. One sec. Alright, I forgot to add this in there. Next up is John Wick Chapter 3. Now, in my opinion, this is the best out of the John Wick franchise. I enjoyed Part 1 and 2, but it didn't make it on the list, but I enjoyed Part 1 and 2. By the way, I'm not ranking these. I'm just talking about my favorite movies from the last decade. And John Wick Chapter 3 nailed the action, and everything was more and more intense. I freaking enjoyed this movie from start to finish. They upped the ante, and they're going to probably continue to up the ante in the fourth film. So I cannot wait. And Donnie Yen's going to be in the fourth film too. So I cannot freaking wait for that movie. So yeah, John Wick Chapter 3, damn good film. It's epic as hell. Next up is It Chapter 1, like the remake of It now. This movie was freaking great. The more I watched it, it just kept getting better and better and better in my opinion. This movie is just amazing. To me, this is what kind of brought horror back, like the slasher craze back in a way. Because this movie was so freaking well done. The kills, the way Pennywise eats them people, it's just crazy. Next up is It Chapter 2. I love this movie. I don't get the hate. This movie freaking gave me everything I wanted in the sequel to It. So this movie had the same feel from the original and better. I mean, it's like, I like them about the same, these two. So yeah, I love this movie a lot. I don't think we're going to get a third one, but if we do, it'll be awesome because they ended the book perfectly with this. So yeah. Next up is a movie, this franchise I grew up with, and I love this franchise a lot. So yeah, next up is Toy Story 4. Now this movie, even though it's not as good as Part 3, I freaking enjoy this movie. I love it. I grew up with this franchise, so of course I'm going to love it. And there's like a lot of nostalgia scenes in this movie, and the animation is great. I enjoy this movie quite a bit. This movie is really good. It's not as good as Part 3. It's not even as good as Part 1, 2, or 3, but it's close to it. It's probably the weakest out of the Toy Story franchise, but it's still a pretty decent film. Next up is one of my all-time favorite slashers. One of my favorite slashers is The Final Girls. One of the best PG-13 horror movies out there. Like, this movie, like, if you're a slasher fan, you'll love this movie. That's all to it. You'll love this movie if you're a slasher fan. And I enjoy this movie quite a bit, The Final Girls. Next up is Max Cloud, another great Jason Statham. I mean, not Jason Statham, damn. Scott Adkins. Sometimes I get confused with those two because those two are amazing martial artists. But Scott Adkins, like, Max Cloud was great. Scott Adkins was great in this role. I love his movies a lot. So yeah, of course, this movie had to be on the list. I love this movie a lot. Next up is a really good horror slasher that I freaking love. I adore. And that is Freaky. Now, Freaky has some great kills, a great story, and some great, hilarious comedy scenes that I laughed my ass off. This movie is great. I freaking love the hell out of this movie. This movie is the shit. I love it. I could rewatch it anytime and just freaking love it and have a good ass time like I did the first time. I love this movie quite a bit. Next up is one of my all-time favorite slashers that surprised me in the theater because it gave me that original feel back of the original Halloweens. And it brought me back that 90s and 80s and 90s feel of slashers. And that is Halloween 2018. Now, say what y'all want about this film. Like, there's some people that love it. Of course, there's a lot of people that love it. But there's also a lot of people that hate it. Say what you want about this film. This movie brought back the essence of the original Halloween. Whether you like it or not. Like, this movie brought the essence back. It brought that mood and atmosphere back from the original Halloween. This movie felt like a little bit of Rob Zombie mixed in there with the original Halloween. It's like, it had more of the original Halloween feel, but a little bit of sprinkle of Rob Zombie's first Halloween remake. And then you add that in there with a lot of the original feel, and with this film put together with a little bit of Halloween H2O flavor in there, and you put that in a bowl, you mix it all together. That's what you get with this film. I enjoyed this movie a lot. The mask was great, the kills are great, the story was great, the soundtrack was freaking on point. I loved everything about this movie, other than there's some comedy scenes I was like, what the fuck, you know? Like, there's some comedy scenes I was like, damn, they could have done better with that certain scene. But yeah, so this movie is great. It's in my top 3. When I first watched it, I was about to put it in my number 1 or number 2, but when I kept rewatching it, before it was my number 2 spot, but the more I rewatched it, now it's my number 3, which is still great. And I cannot wait for Halloween Kills. Hopefully we get that trailer freaking soon, because I love this movie from start to finish, pretty much from start to finish. I love everything about this movie, so that's why Halloween 2018 had to be out on the list. So yeah, I guess that's it for this video. Hey, like, let me know in the comments below what y'all's favorite movies in the last decade. So y'all like to see y'all's thoughts or and stuff like that. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, like, what y'all's favorite movies in the last decade. So yeah, I guess that's it for this video. If y'all enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, please subscribe and share. Also hit the bell so you know new videos uploaded. Peace out. Hope y'all enjoy this video. And I'm out. Peace.